We're live. Yes, okay, I think we're live now. Hello, my name is Gilroy Madrid, and I'm at Fort Stockton Technology Center right now. There's a little bit of issues where I had to change computers from last time. So those of you who were with me on Tuesday, I appreciate you being here on Thursday. This one will go a little bit quicker just because I've gotten a little bit better about how this setup works on this side of the room. So again, thank you for being here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys. I'm going to say hello in the chat, just so whether there's people out there or not, I'm not too sure. I think there's some people. Thank you for being here. I'm going to go ahead and start our presentation so that way those of you who are on, great. We do have an individual in the room as well, although our screen's not working up there, so he's just going to have to listen to me. Thank you, Mr. Klein, for being here. That works. Thank you. All right. So, again, this is our second meeting of the federal programs that we have here at Fort Stockton ISD, and we're also going to go over current technology, and then some ESSER information as well. This real quick here is there is information that you can sign in. There is a link. There is a link going back to the. Let me go back here because I think on the select this and put that in. There is a link on. I can't figure out why it's not doing that. Oh, I know why. Computer's a little slow again. There we go. I'm going to take this and put it in the chat in case anybody needs to sign in. There's a sign-in sheet right there. There's also a vocational CTE information right there. If anybody has any questions or comments, they can add them right there. These are the links to the websites that we are having this video on, and then there's some links here that are within the presentation as well. So I'm going to go back to the slideshow. So everything you'll see in the slideshow is on that Padlet, which you have the link for. I just put on there. And man, I'm having trouble with the technology, but I appreciate you guys being patient with us. So again, the purpose of this meeting is just to discuss federal programs, current technology, the ESSER information, which will go about towards the end, and then all three meetings will cover the same, so you don't have to watch. You don't have to watch any of them. You can watch one. You can watch all three. They are being recorded and on our live feeds on social media as well. We are located right now in the technology building. Those are the online links if you want to go to them, which are located in the Padlet as well. There's a Padlet information. Again, this is one of the 3 annual federal program meetings that we're going to have. It's just basically to inform the public of their schools' participation, Title I programs. And Title I is just basically the way the law, the federal government has listed certain laws in schools. Title I is really just geared towards education and how to help students who are disadvantaged. And then explaining rights to the stakeholders involved. Fort Stockton ISD participates in Title I, and we receive funds from the federal government, and part of that is to improve student academics. And there's one part in there that says we have to have a parent-student compact, and that parent-student compact is within the student handbooks of each campus, and it's just explains parents what they have, what their rights are, and that they are in schools to help make decisions relating to their education of their children. We also have a campus improvement plan and a district improvement plan that are blueprints that we focus on improvement within our schools, which is all geared towards STAR and EOC testing. And then we look to see how we can help kids and then use our monies efficiently as possible, and how we can get parents and family engaged within the processes of our students, kids who are learning in schools. We do have parents and community members involved in those plans, the campus improvement plan and the district improvement plan. And so They are there. If you have any questions at the very end, we have contact information for each campus that you can call and find out what's going on. There is a policy and compact. This is one of the, like we mentioned earlier, there is a compact that just basically says, hey, parents, this is information you need to know about the schools that you have rights to do. You have rights to your child's education. A lot of parents don't know that, but you do. And a lot of it is working with the schools and how we can help your child do better in school. And so there is also an element of that where the elementary campuses are required to have a yearly parent-teacher conference with their students and their parents at the school. And so that usually happens the first grading period of the school year at all the elementary campuses. The policy addresses family engagement, flexible meetings that we have to have, certain activities. It also addresses the curriculum and assessment and instruction. And curriculum is just basically what we have to teach, which is, again, that's what the state of Texas says. You got to teach these things. State of Texas, I know it sounds crazy, but they want kids to learn the Pythagorean theorem and geometry and what have you. So that's why that's there. Then the instruction is how we teach that. That a lot of that's our teachers. And then there is the assessment part, is how we test what the teachers taught from what the state of Texas said we have to teach our kids, right? All right. So, and then the other thing is that we provide as much information as possible to parents as needed and requested. The other thing is that the parent compact is a written agreement of how we can improve student learning, how we address curriculum instruction that meets the state standards, which is linked to STAR, and then how we can support our children, how we can have frequent communication with school and home, and the importance of family and parent decisions with students in education and the parents involved as well. The curriculum, again, is just basically what we teach. It's dictated by the state of Texas, and we assess that through the STAR test, EOCs in the high school, and then again, local assessments within throughout the year of our school calendar year. And that's why the testing calendar, the school calendar is very important, because all that is planned. The teachers and principals are doing a wonderful job of trying to plan everything out the best they can as required in the state with the amount of days that we have within the school year. The meetings are basically to inform parents as much as we can about the information that is impacting their children and their education. We also use social media a lot to help share that information with parents as well, and the community. So we use that as part of our meetings. Now let's go back to the Title I part about the money part. It basically says that if we receive more than $500,000, then we're required by state to set aside at least 1% of that, of the 10% system-wide for parent engagement or parent involvement, parent and family engagement. And a lot of that salary, that money that we get from that, we pay salary for Mrs. Estella Casas, who's our parent liaison, who goes out and shares information with parents. She does everything she can to help parents who are struggling with their students at home. Maybe it's things that we just don't know about. And she's a very wonderful resource within our community who knows a lot of people and a lot of resources to help within our community and our students and our parents. So if you have any questions or any help that you feel the schools may not be able to, give Mrs. Stella Costas a call. She does work at every campus, and she's always willing to help with the amount of resources and the people that she knows. So that's a shout out to Mrs. Costas, who works with our principals and making sure that our kids get the very best education they possibly can get. The other part of that is the teacher qualifications. Parents, community members, really parents, have the right to know about their teachers' qualifications. You can request that information from the district office, or the best place to get it from is from the principal at that campus, and you can request that information anytime. You can also look it up on a website. If you just type teacher certification, look up in Texas, you can type up their names and look it up. Now, I will tell you, there's some people in there. A few years ago, they changed the law that says a lot of CTE teachers do not have to be certified because their work experience counts for a lot of the education that they can to help out kids and teach kids. For example, you can have a registered nurse who doesn't have a teacher certificate, but her skills are in exactly what we need to help teach a CNA class. So that's just an example of how we would use that situation like that. Again, parents have that right to know if there is a teacher who is not certified. We do mail letters home to those parents, letting them know what is going on. Sometimes there's a teacher shortage in Texas and across the nation, and sometimes we have individuals who go to school, and then there are certain programs. They have a college degree, they've gone to college. It can be I'll just give you an example. I may have a degree in science, right? But I'm not a science teacher. But then there are programs out there that allow you to teach science and be in a program like kind of going to school at the same time, where you can get your certification so that you can pass the test and be a fully certified teacher. So Fort Stockton, like almost every school in Texas, takes advantage of that. So we are very fortunate that we can do that. And then we also evaluate our policies and our procedures, and if there are any barriers that don't allow parents to engage with their schools, and how we can be successful in interacting with our families. And we get that information from meetings, committees, questionnaires, surveys, and just talking to parents. And social media, believe it or not, we know I appreciate a lot of you out there who do share information with us on social media. A lot of times we don't know, so we do appreciate that. And then we report those findings in the parent involvement policy and the school parent compact, which is at the end of every person's handbook on every campus, which those handbooks are online, as well as if you want a hard copy. When you register, it'll ask you, you want a hard copy? You can let the school know. It gives you a PDF copy. A lot of people don't want paper, and I understand that. And so a lot of times you do get them in your email once you register your kid, and you can always ask for this school to give you that information as well. And we're talking about the handbooks and the code of conducts. This is just a list of the federal programs that we deal with every day, pretty much. Title I, all these numbers. Again, the numbers basically just mean something from the state of from the federal government. Some of it is the state of Texas, and so we're going to go over that here in a little bit. All right, Title I, Part A. Basically, Title I, Part A is just how we can help economically disadvantaged students and the entire educational program to improve the achievement of our lowest achieving students, and how we can employ effective methods of instructional strategies and use scientifically evidence-based research. There's a migrant program, and the last time I did this presentation, somebody asked me, do we have any migrant students? We do, and we actually have 10 migrant students within the school district of about 2280 from our last summer submission that we sent to the state as far as information to the state that they want to know. So the Texas Migrant Program is basically, it was designed many years ago for how we can help students overcome the challenges whenever they're traveling with seasonal work. It was a lot of times as agriculture and fishing. Now I do believe that there's another type of migrant workers that we don't really talk about, and that's the oil field workers. We see more of that than anything than we do agriculture. But again, that's not part of the migrant services as deemed by the federal government. And the whole idea is just to help students succeed and do well in school. There's Title II, Part A. Again, it's basically how we can increase student achievement and improve the quality and effectiveness of teachers, principals, and other school leaders. And the intent is just to support educators in the overall quality of instruction and ensure equity for all students. I will tell you that a lot of our monies from Title I and Title II, all the federal programs that start out with the word title, we do one of two things with it. We either make our teaching class sizes smaller, or we provide professional development for our teachers to help be better in their craft so that they can help students learn at higher levels. There's Title III, which impacts English learners, immigrant students, English proficiency, and academic achievement in English, and how those students who are struggling with the English language can perform better on the STAR test or the EOC test at the high school. Title IV is basically, again, how students can provide a well-rounded education, improve the academic outcomes, and improve the use of technology. And then there's a part in this that says it's supplement, not supplant, right? So I'm going to go over that, what that means. Supplement means, hey, if you guys are going to spend, $20,000 on this, great. We're going to give you another $5,000 to do that. But that's supplementing. Supplanting is saying, hey, if you guys are going to get if you guys are planning on $20,000, we'll give you $20,000, but you can't replace it with that. You have to use 20 plus the 20. So that's what supplant is, and that's what supplement means. Supplement means it adds to what you're already doing. Supplant says we're just replacing money. We're going to do that with this money. And then there's Title V, which is basically the Rural Education Initiative. We are in a rural area, which means our school gets a little bit more money because there's certain resources that are a little bit different from each school and from the bigger cities to where we live here in Fort Stockton. So that's basically, again, a lot of these allocations do two things: provides professional development or provides more teachers for our students, so that way we can have smaller class sizes. And then there's a state compensatory education program. Real quick, this basically says, this from the state, it says, how can we help at-risk students? And it's at-risk is how you help students do two things: perform well on the STAR test and graduate high school. That's what this is a part of, right? So there are certain aspects of what constitutes an at-risk student. The first thing is that if they failed a grade, they're considered at risk. If they did not maintain an average of 70 of a scale of 100 in 2 or more subjects in grades 7 through 12, if they did not perform at least 110% on the level of satisfactory performance of the state assessment. Okay, well, that basically means this. Let's just say the STAR test, to pass it, is at 70. That means for you you would be considered at risk. But then if you were at 77%, then you'd be okay, because 7 is 10% of the 70. So that's why that is on there. Then there is a pre-kindergarten and kindergarten grades 1, 2, and 3. If they didn't perform satisfactory on a readiness test that is established by our schools, if the student is pregnant or a parent, if they've been placed in an alternative education program for discipline or other reasons, if the student has been expelled, if the student is on parole, probation, deferred prosecution, or other type of legal aspect, if the student has dropped out of school, if the student has limited English proficiency, they really don't have a grasp of the English language, and then if they are part of the Department of Family and Protective Services. The other issue is if they are homeless, as defined by sections of the federal law. The other two reasons are if they've been in a residential placement facility. A lot of that has to do with if students sometimes need some help with their mental issues that they're going through, or they're dealing with something that the judge or a federal state or a state agency has removed them out of the home. That's what we're talking about right there. And then the last one, 14, if they've been incarcerated or a parent or guardian has been incarcerated. I would tell you that Fort Stockton ISD will not we will not go out and search people and ask them if they've been in jail or not. That's something we will not do, so don't worry about that. I will tell you though, if a kid gets arrested in school, the schools by law have to know that, and so we are aware of that. And people always are like, why do you have to do that? Again, those are our rules. That's the state of Texas, and so, but we are not going to ask people if they've been in jail or not. Nor can we assume if somebody's been in jail or not. So I just want to put that out there, because sometimes people will call and say, so-and-so's in jail. Well, we don't know that. Sometimes we don't. This next part is part of the comprehensive local needs assessment for the Perkins. Perkins basically is the career and technology information of our school. And this was the last report that was done from 2021. There's these indicators. Indicators are basically measurements of our school compared to the state of Texas when it comes to Perkins 5, which is career and technology. And so within that, there's a 4-year graduation rate. There's all these indicators there. I'm going to go over some more of them here in a little bit. You notice the statewide information is right here, and there's the information compared to our school district. This is the same, go back, I keep pushing the wrong key. It's the same chart, except it's in a different way, forming a bar chart per se, which if you notice here, it basically says this is the state numbers, and then the orange is the Fort Stockton ISD numbers. And so that indicator right there, non-traditional program concentration, what that basically means is that are there girls in like more what you would say are boys classes in career technology, and is there boys in what you would consider more boy oriented or more girl oriented classes? For example, are there girls in woodshop classes? That's what that's looking at. And for the most part, we do a good job of that. I will tell you, somebody asked me one time, why do y'all do that? We don't do that. The state of Texas just wants to know that, because they just want to make sure we're not placing kids where we think they need to be, but we're actually where they need to be, where they feel they need to be, in their interests. All right. This is another comparison, is the how CTE learners and students perform on the STAR test compared to non-CTE performers. Now, this is just within our district. If you notice that our CTE kids in CTE classes do better than students who are not in CTE classes. All right, so that just goes to show you that those students are using their hands, doing things. Sometimes there's some evidence there to show that they are doing better on their STAR test just because they're in CTE classes. And again, it's something the state of Texas wants to know, And so that's just what we deal with. These are the career clusters that our district has from the last report. Career clusters is just basically says where kids are at and what career cluster they're looking at, what they want to do when they grow up and finish high school, and what classes we have in place for that. For example, health science, which is number 2. A lot of students right now, they'll take health, they'll take the biology classes, they'll take anatomy and physiology, and then they'll start taking the CNA classes to become a certified nurse assistant here at Forsyth High School. We have a partnership with Midland College where we do that. We're able to do those things. And so a lot of these things tie in with Midland College. We are very fortunate that we have that here in our district. A lot of schools don't have that, but we can partner and do some things that a lot of other districts aren't able to do. So shout out to Midland College for helping us out. So those right there are the number of students that we have. CTE learners, I'm going to go over that here in a little bit. That is a definition by the state of Texas and the federal government that it kind of just defines what a student is in relationship to where they are in their career and technology path there at the high school. This right here is just improving equity and access. It just basically says, are you guys really doing the right thing for kids? And it says, where are the students as far as equity? Are you making sure Hispanic kids, and even though we have the majority of our kids are Hispanic, they're considered a minority compared to the nation, all right? And as you can see here, there's all district students and district CTE students. It just evaluates, and you just want to make sure they're really close together, just to show that there's some equity, and they are, okay? Now, these are the crazy definitions, all right? These are crazy definitions by the CTE indicators and auto coding defined by the state of Texas and the federal government. You just need to know this because you may hear counselors or high school principals tell you, like, we really need to push CTE, really need to push CTE. And the reason is the government wants us to make sure that kids are looking beyond just graduation. They're looking beyond just graduating high school, and that's what they're wanting to do. And so right now, a non-CTE student is a kid that's never taken a CTE class in school. A CTE participant is someone who completes either one high school CTE course or any other credits. It's usually one. So a participant means you've taken one class. Then you have a explorer, which basically means you've taken 2 classes, okay? And then there is a CTE concentrator. Now, the difference between this, a completer or explorer and concentrator, if you notice here, it's a student who completes 2 or more high school CTE courses for a total of 2 or more credits at a non-participant concentrated completer level. It's a crazy way of saying it, but it has to do with programs of study. So a concentrator means that they've done, because you can have CTE classes that may not fit in with a cluster that we talked about earlier. A concentrator means you've taken 2 classes that do fit in with a concentrated area that's defined by the state and by our local high school credit and counseling and programs that we have in place. Then there's a CTE completer. That's where a student has completed at least 3 or more high school CTE courses for a total of 4 more credits, including 1 level 3 or 4 course from within the program of study. Those are pretty crazy definitions, but that's what we have to go by at the state of Texas. All right, and the Perkins 5 is just basically describes a program of study that incorporates challenging state academics, addresses the technical and employability skills, aligns with the needs of industries, progresses through specificity of beginning with all aspects of industry. It's all geared towards industry. What we can help, whether it's a kid who's going to be a doctor, a plumber, a lawyer, an electrician, a teacher, and so that's what all this is geared towards you. And then if it culminates to attainment of recognized post-secondary credentials, such as a CNA class that we have where kids can become CNAs, or some other type of business certificate that we are able to offer through our partnership with Midland College. These are some programs and studies that I'm just showing people this information here because they do change. And every now and then they change, and they changed from Perkins 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they weren't even called programs of study back then, but now they are. So these are just changes that they have in place. For example, the ag, food, and natural resources stayed the same, but business, marketing, and administration was combined with marketing and finance. The government and public administration was combined with law and public safety. So all that is just information for people to have. This here, if you go to this website here, if you're just dying to go and learn more about the career clusters, you can do that. That is the website from a TEA link. This is the Workforce Commission link that I'm going to show you here in a little bit with some information that's pretty neat for parents. This here, if you go to this link, which is also in the Padlet, there's a lot of cool information for parents who want to look at things, or even kids. You know, what I want to do in my careers. There's some career exploration things on here. There's some things you can do, what it takes. If I want to live in Midland, Texas, or in a different area, and I want to live this certain lifestyle, there is a calculator that tell you how much money you need to be able to make to support yourself and your endeavors wherever you want to live. Because sometimes we forget, sometimes kids forget how much things cost and don't realize that things are kind of expensive nowadays. This is a permanent-based in workforce development. Now, I will let you know the reason why this is important is because we have to say that we need a certain amount of kids to be in a certain industry within our area, which is Region 11 for the workforce development areas of Texas. Okay, I'm going to go over that here a little bit. This is a link that is on the Padlet, which I will show you. If you have any ideas of what you can help out with the current technology education program here, just let us know. You can click on that link in the Padlet, and I'll put that again at the very end, which I think is already posted. Now, before we go on, what is ESSER? ESSER is basically Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Act. All of this came about COVID-19, and we still have a little bit of money left over from that. And the whole idea of this was to recover from the learning losses that we had due to COVID-19, which we're still recovering from. You know, if you think about it, if you weren't in school, think about it like this. Let's just say you were behind 1 year in school, right? You're behind in reading, you're behind in math, and you went to the next year, you went to school every single day. You'd still be behind 1 year. And the only way you have to do that is put in extra time, extra work. And so that's why that's extremely important, because we do know, and if you've been reading the headlines, there's a national movement to show that we're still not coming out of the whole loss of learning that we did from COVID-19. So again, there were 3 parts to the ESSER. It was ESSER 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go over that here in a little bit. One was called CARE, CRSSA, and the last one was called ARP. And then ESSER 3, federal funding, COVID-19 learning recovery. 20% of it had to be towards learning recovery. A lot of it was, and how you did that, and to ensure there was high quality teaching and learning across Fort Stockton ISD, and how we could target and support those resources as well. There were some other things we had to consider, like health and safety of our students, reduce the risk of virus, and how we can retain. The important part was how to retain high need and high impact individuals who are teachers within school. And what that is you can have a healthy school, you can have a clean school, but you got to have people there, right? So that's why this is extremely important. So the goals of FSISD ESSER 3 was to address learning recovery, as we mentioned, have high quality assessments and high academic progress, and implement best practices and academic activities for our students. So the whole goal was to improve on academics of our students. We did that by providing information assistance to our parents, tracking student attendance, improving student engagement. ESSER 3 again. What we also had campus curriculum directors, instructional leaders within the campus to help our teachers be better in their craft. That way they can help students perform better, right? And so we did add campus curriculum directors to our district as well. We also added academic and high need stipends. We did tested subject stipends to help improve student academic and performance, so that we can prioritize, that's a rough one, prioritize teaching in high need areas in our district. And again, it's to reward, retain, recruit the best of the best that we have. Thank you, Mr. Klein, for that word. That's a little rough word for me. Retention stipends are also in place. We've been very fortunate that the school board and Fort Stockton ISD has been allowed to give retention stipends, usually in the fall, just to let our teachers know we appreciate all the hard work that they do. And a lot of it was to feed students. We also fed students. You may or may not know this, but we are in a very great situation where Mr. Casillas, our food services director, and who is the new mayor of Fort Stockton ISD, or Fort Stockton, shout out to him. Congratulations. He's worked real hard to make sure we're in programs that we can offer free meals to all our students. And so we do appreciate all the hard work he's done to put that in place for our schools, for our students. It has to do with the fact that there are certain rules and regulations in place that if there are so many students or so many people in the area where you live in, population-wise, that fall below a certain threshold of the money that they bring into their household, it just, the state of Texas basically says, you know what, that's enough people to say, hey, let's just feed all the kids in your community. So we're very blessed that we're able to do that. Let's see here. The other thing is we spent a lot of money on the HVAC and Apache school system. The air system, we did replace that, I guess probably 2-3 years ago. The system that was in place was not a very good system that we knew, and so we did replace the Apache school. It was the only system that was what was called a chiller boiler system that basically heated up or water, super boiling water, and then super freeze that water, and then ran that water throughout the school, and then blew air across these coils so they could cool or heat up your building. And it was a pain. It was not very efficient for us, and so we did change the whole HVAC system at Apache School, where all our systems now are on the HVAC system. And then we did some other things. Mr. Klein did bring in Rachel's Challenge to help kids understand to be kind to each other and how to address bullying and instill hope and resilience in our kids. And so we also did that for our students and our staff as well, and the community. There's 2 plans we have to have for ESSER funding. It's a safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services, and then the use of our funds. The ESSER funds as of May 2023, I got this from Mrs. Gomez at Central Office, our business director. ESSER 1, we did spend all of it. Again, most of that went to COVID pay, consulting services, and Chromebooks. We did spend a lot of money purchasing Chromebooks to keep students connected to their teachers and their schools. And then ESSER 2, we did a lot of retention pay, and then did some things with maintenance and custodial, making sure our schools were safe and clean. And then ESSER 3, that was the big one. That was about $5 million. We spent retention pay. We did campus curriculum directors as well as the curriculum director. We did zone pay, which just basically pays out teachers based upon the type of teacher they are, with the fact that there are some teachers who are livelihood rests on their shoulders. The STAR test is linked to a lot of that you pay teachers who are having to teach subjects such as math and reading. All right, and then again, there's the academic stipends, which is similar, which is exactly the same thing. There's summer school, there's tutorials as well. And then we also pay the Texas Tech tuition. We are in a partnership with Texas Tech, the first public school that was to do that. And what we do is we have a facility at Butts where if a kid's just struggling in school, we are able to do some online things with them so that they can get the credits that they need. And then there's Rachel's Challenge that Mr. Klein brought to the district to help just kids understand, like, hey, let's be kind to each other and let's be nicer, because you never know what people are going through every day, whether it's a kid or an adult. And so that was very helpful, making sure that we were able to be kinder, a reminder to be kind, because we know we're supposed to be kind, right? Just a reminder so that we forget that. And then we did expend quite a bit of money on some air filters and the Apache HVAC system. So we had about $290,000 left, and there's some money down there at the bottom, the salary for summer schools, campus directors, curriculum directors, zone pay. If you notice, this money here it'll zero us out. And so what do you do when that money's gone? Well, we just continue to do the things with the money that we have in place. And we end up having to be a little bit more frugal about things, but we are very thankful that we did get the money that we're able to spend to do the things that we can do. So and a lot of those things happened because who knew what COVID-19 was going to do, right? Nobody really knew. But we are at the end of that, so thank goodness. The ESSER 3 information is on our website. It is right there. We do have to have it posted in a very conspicuous area, so that way people know where it's at. It was part of the laws when it says if you get this money, you got to make sure your people can get to and see that information. This is information for campus contacts. Those numbers haven't changed in a long time. We did go to IP telephony, which basically says our phones go through the internet, but we can still call 911. And so those are the numbers. If you have any questions, you can write those down or call any number, and we can help you out and get to the school that you want to get to. So I am going to do this now. This is the Permian Basin Workforce Development Area Labor Market information for the year 2020 through 2030. I just wanted to show you this because there's certain things here. These are the highest paying wages within our area. And I will tell you, if you notice it, there's healthcare, physicians, healthcare therapeutic anesthesiologists, healthcare surgeons, nurses, anesthesiologists, family medicine physicians, and then there's airline pilots, co-pilots, and flight engineers. Then there's dentists, and then there's dentists. if you look at that, there is a high need or high paying jobs out here are in the medical field. Now, this part right here is the growth rate. Okay, what is the growth rate? If you notice, nurse anesthesists, family medicine physicians, airplane pilots, co-pilots are pretty high. I'm going to change this so that we can look at the highest. So it's going to say there is a high growth rate for ushers, lobby attendants, and ticket takers. That's basically hospitality, tourism, hotels, baggage porters, bellhops. This right here has to do with like food preparation, food server workers, and yeah, there is going to be a high need. But this here tells us that it's a low it's low wages. So what the state of Texas wants, they want people to be in a high growth rate plus get a decent paying job. And if you notice, the first one here is education for all others. So going to education does help you out. So it is right now one of the higher, it's a high need and the first highest paid. If you put those two things there together, what's high need and high pay, education administrators and all other education training as well. So that is that. Again, this is the Padlet that I showed you. This here is a sign-in sheet. You are more than welcome to sign it. You don't have to do it that way, but I encourage you to. This is the labor market information that I got that spreadsheet on, which is right here. There's career awareness that is from the Workforce Commission. If you go down here to K-12 students and parents, there's a lot of cool information in there that you are able to look at. The computer's a little slow. There's a self-assessment, parent toolkit, employability skills, money matters, what education you will get, explore career and education. There's a ton of stuff here that's pretty cool. And then the last thing here is the website that shows the programs and study. If you really wanted to know what it takes, so like if I click on one, it'll show you the classes that it takes to get to where you need to be. We offer some, we don't offer all of them, but for the most part, we do offer quite a bit. Our counselors and high school people do a wonderful job, a tough job of getting everything scheduled for kids within the daily setup of our schedule and our school year. So with that being said, again, if there's anything that's pretty cool and important, if you're ever bored, this right here, this website, which is linked on our on this Padlet, it's extremely neat thing. I know the reality check, I did that last time where I just showed kids and parents if I wanted to live in a certain area and I wanted a certain lifestyle, how much money I'd have to make, you know, and then it tells you, well, you want to make that amount of money, you're going to have to take a job that is very similar to this job. Okay, so take a look at it. Other than that, I think I am good. I don't see any questions on the chat. There's about 3 or 4 people still on, looks like, I think on Facebook. So I appreciate it. I don't see any of the questions. Mr. Klein doesn't have any. If you have any questions, Mr. Klein, nope, he's good. Thank you, Mr. Klein, for being here. That being said, it is 6:46 p.m. Thank you for being with us today. Again, this will be recorded. There'll be one more, which will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m. So that being said, thank you. Be careful and be safe. Have a wonderful evening. Just finish closing this out. We'll see you guys.